Hello and welcome to Ham Nation, episode 519 for April 27th, 2022. Well, hello everybody. I am Josh KI6NAZ. Thanks so much for coming out to watch Ham Nation again this week. This will be the last week for April before we go into full preparation for Hamvention. So everybody that's going to be out there, make sure you come say hi. I'll definitely be running around. But for today, let's talk to some of the hosts we have. We got a big show. Thanks again. How's it going, everybody? Joe's back. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've got lots of kit info and new kits out and all sorts of fun going to be happening. And we'll see everybody at Dayton. Look for the red car and the red and white hat.
And you got a couple of things you're doing. You're doing a talk and you're working. What is it you got going on?
Well, I will be giving the kit building seminar on Friday morning at 11:45. And I will be at Club Night and Vendor Night at 4 days in May. And I will be all over the place.
Excellent. Gordo, how are you doing?
All is well on the West Coast, and we look forward to seeing all of you at Dayton Hamvention, just about 3 weeks away.
I've got something I got to remember to put in my bag to give to you. So I basically have to fly all the way to Ohio to hand you something when I could probably just drive over to your house in like 20 minutes. So that's a very effective use of time and money, I must say. So I'm looking forward to see you in person again, Gordo. Don, how you doing today?
I'm good. I'm going to be missing all of you in Dayton because it's not going to happen for us this year. We are looking forward to Huntsville exactly 3 months after Dayton, the third weekend in August, where Newsline will present live for the first time in a couple of years the Young Ham of the Year Award, and we're always looking forward to that. So it seems like the bottom row tonight, Amanda and myself will be staying home for Dayton, unfortunately.
We'll be
we're looking
thinking
for that.
about you. I'll be looking out for the Dawn faces, the masks that people sometimes wear.
God, I've got one around here somewhere. We've got the Newsline report tonight and a quickie from Dr. T. So look forward to that.
All right. And Amanda, how are you?
I am fantastic, but first I have to say Happy Morse Code Day, everybody.
That's right. Yes.
Hopefully
indeed.
everyone went out and I'm not proficient in it, but I saw a lot of tweets on today about Happy Morse Code Day, so I thought that was pretty cool. And I looked at my national day calendar and it's not on there, so I don't know who came up with this, but I think it's fantastic.
It's clearly defective. Throw it away.
Got to buy an ARRL calendar. I bet it's on there.
I bet it is.
That's on
yeah.
the internet. Okay. All right. Well, speaking of the ARRL, I do have a wonderful guest tonight. Our field services manager, Mike, I hope that's right. W8ZY is going to be here talking about ARRL club grants that are going to be available starting May 4th. And we're going to be talking to a couple of wonderful gentlemen who most of you might recognize because they've been on here a time or two from the Voice of America Museum. And they're going to tell us about their extended hours during Dayton Hamvention. Not only that, in between all of my extra time on the show tonight, I will be paying attention to chat, which means that Josh is doing a lot of double duty and trying to catch some of those questions.
We're working together. Yeah, we're gonna try and sort it out. So make sure you tag either Amanda or I in the chat, or just say question. We'll see it that way too.
Absolutely. And I'll talk a little bit about what I did for World Amateur Radio Day here at the end of the show, depending on time. All right. With that, Josh, you want me to... Oh, no, we're going to Gordo.
That's right. Quick note, though, I'll say hi to TC
yeah,
Fitz.
sorry.
Thank you, TC Fitz, for the super chat. Appreciate the support. Thanks very much. Okay, Gordo, it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Great to see everyone, including league officials here tonight. And, we got noise. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're having to put up with on the HF. Well, thank goodness for this noise. That is broadband white noise that's coming in from the sun. And that sun noise is so important because that's what charges up the D layer, E layer, and the F layer. So sun noise is good noise, and we're going to learn more about that. But that's a noise that all hams just put up with, and it comes with the territory. And The next amount of noise are birdies, and a birdie is something that is not easily cured. The birdie comes over high frequency most of the time, and if you listen real carefully, here's what a birdie sounds like. Keep listening. Did you hear it? The little, well, that's a birdie. And birdies are just errant whistles that come out of the high-frequency bands up on 10 meters. Lately, band conditions have been so good. The birdies we're getting are from, they say, sawmills, part of the gluing process. Well, I don't know about that, but birdies on 10 are very, very common. And the next noise is lightning. And you can hear a lightning strike via radio instantaneously before you'll hear the thunderclap. Listen. Listen. Did you hear that? We'll do it again. That was a lightning strike, and the lightning strikes occur throughout the world, and we can hear them usually up to about 1,000 miles away. And notice that right after the big spark, the AGC pulls your reception way down. So many times that you hear a lightning strike, it's going to take your receiver 2 or 3 seconds to catch up and see what's going on. Well, a real nuisance noise is power line noise. And when we see power line noise, we've got to compare it to what kind of noise is out there on the radio land. So we'll take a look at this power line, and a close look shows that your cable TV and some of your cable networks are on the very bottom there with a very ugly looking matching network or whatever that is. Next one up is in our neck of the woods, the telephone line. The 3 up above that, that is 240 volts that is coming into the house. And all of these lines, the 3, the 1, and the 1, are all covered with a thick insulation. But at the top of the pole, that's the one that creates noise, and that's the one you never, ever want to get near, especially if you're trimming a tree. And here's a little bit of what power line noise sounds like. But to tell whether or not it's bad or not, tune into WWV, such as 10 megahertz, and listen to this. This is WWV with power line noise.
16 hours, 25 minutes, coordinated universal time.
And power line noise really gets intense when we've got this kind of weather condition. And, oh, before we do, this noise, this is unbelievable. This noise will go for 2 or 3 blocks. These are your major high voltage, extremely high voltage power lines. And they're the ones that can not only wipe out a neighborhood, but wipe out several blocks with just broadband noise. But when the fog comes in, that noise sounds a little strange. Listen to this, fog. Do you hear the little pops? The little pops are because the noise is causing the AGC to quickly grab a hold. Listen to the arcs, and that's what's causing this type of noise when the fog rolls in.
5, 3, 7, 1, 5.
So that is plain old fog noise. So when it gets foggy, there you go. Well, dishwashers, here you go. This is not in the ARRL Interference Handbook, but it is, there you go. That's one way to keep dishwasher noise out. And I don't really have any sounds of dishwasher noise, but nonetheless, this pooch is doing his thing. Here's a tremendously powerful noise source. Not the solar panel, but rather the switcher. And so many switchers that are coming in from overseas have almost no filtering at all. So if you've got a cell phone and you're trying to track down noise, and we'll tell you how to track it down, switchers are in these wall warts. Well, first of all, is the noise coming in the DC or the AC line? Easy to tell. Simply disconnect the antenna and see if the noise stops. If the noise stops and you plug it back in and it's now picked up again, whatever kind of noise on high frequency, then it's time to determine whether or not it's your house or the neighbor's. You're going to probably need to reset a lot of clocks, but the real way to tell is with a shortwave receiver. It can be double sideband, single sideband. It can even be just a little AM radio. And what we do is we begin to shut off the house electronics. And when we get to, oh, there it is, I shut these two off, and all of a sudden the noise went away. Turn them back on. A few seconds later, the noise reappears on this little shortwave receiver. And the reason we use a portable receiver is because you've turned off all of the house. Well, now that you've got the house turned on, you're looking at your your Spectrum waterfall display, and this is what it sounds like. And see if you can identify it. Well, that's a strange one. So you go to another band that has this. And guess what? Your washing machine. Anytime you see a whole bunch of spikes that are evenly spread throughout the entire band, it's more than likely something in your own home. And in this case, it is the washing machine. Well, let's prowl around and find some additional noisemakers. First of all, on slow scan television or fast scan or some of the other digital modes, especially down on high frequency, you can literally see the noise. And we'll tune in that noise on Weather Facts. And that is Weather Facts noise. Well, there's other noise in households. One is your large screen plasma television. The LCDs are pretty good, but the plasmas many times will have a pretty elevated noise floor. Here's another one. Let's take a listen to this one.
Turning on a new plasma television.
Here's a plasma TV. Oh, listen to that.
Plasma television.
Hear that noise? Yeah, well, listen to this noise. Yeah, that is good old spark plug noise. And I wish there was an easy way, mobile, to cure it, other than pulling off to the side of the road to finish your contact. Yeah, there's resistor plugs and so on, but nope, spark plug noise, especially on some of the older vehicles, is a tough one. And let me tell you, the noise on the new EV vehicles, Joel will tell you about that, driving all the way down to Dayton. He'll describe that noise source as well. Well, there's other noise sources, such as your printer. And the printer noise is one that sounds a little bit like this.
Fax machine.
And with a shortwave receiver, I like upper sideband or double sideband, with that antenna within a foot of whatever you think is the noisemaker that's killing your HF, you're going to get noise. It's when it's 3 to 5 to 10 feet or maybe the next room and you're still picking up the noise, then you're probably going to need to go ahead and work some filters in there. Here's a massive station, almost noise-free until someone turns on the fluorescent lights. Yeah, that's a real killer when it comes to noise, fluorescent lights. Well, here was a noise source that I had right across the street, and it was a unique sound.
Solar panel.
And it's not really the solar panel that's creating the noise, but rather the voltage regulator in the solar panel on a bright sunny day. We found that, as we'll hear in just a few moments, On a cloudy day, the panel just will put out everything it can. But on a real nice sunny days, the panel will begin to fold back the power through switching, and pulse width modulation is what they call it. And the PWM will make a spike type sound, and you'll see that shortly. And you'll also see this type of noise on FT8. So if you're into the digital modes, well, you've probably got the volume turned all the way down. Here's the sound. And if you have a readout waterfall display, you see down there at the bottom in the yellow area, those lines that are going from one way to the other, that's a passing noise source. So watch your spectrum as you are receiving digital, and you'll be able to actually see what's going on. Well, here's a noise source that is easily heard, and it is the dimmer. And listen to what the dimmer does. Here we go with dimmer noise. Hear that? Oh, dimmer off, dimmer on.
Here's a battery charge.
So dimmer noise, that's a real killer. And those of you that, and we'll see shortly, the LCD and LEDs and so on, some of them that are dimmed down will create noise. Well, charging up your battery, or maybe your neighbor's charging up the battery.
No load.
Ew, that's a noise source.
Add a load.
And that noise is created by some of the new battery charger techniques, and those battery charger techniques actually pulse. And those pulses, as you see, are rich in harmonics, and they can really create a large amount of noise. So things to think about. Use good coax. Look at that coax on the left. That's a CB radio special, and or maybe it's leaky coax on purpose. That is going to allow noise to get into what would normally be a well-shielded, the one on the right, coax cable. So watch your coax. Part 15 devices, those do radiate a little bit of noise, and hopefully you don't have too many neighbors with Part 15 noise radiators. And up on VHF and UHF, you're going to be listening for the noise, not in FM, but in the AM mode. If you've got a handheld transceiver that does aeronautical, you'll hear the noise in the AM mode as we have here. And the LED light bulbs, the first versions, were relatively noisy, especially if you ever put them on dim. And as you see here at my shack, I've got plenty of the LED strips that, when not in the dimmer mode, are going to be nice and quiet. And it's not the LEDs that's creating the noise, but rather it is the strip noise. And you can sometimes filter that out with chokes, and the choke's not on the radio, but at the noise source. And finally, noise circuits such as the DSP, digital signal processing, will make a difference, but it's not like night and day. The very best way to cure noise is to try and track down the noise with a little AM radio if you have to, and walk around the house and be able to try and spot where in the world that noise is coming from. So we hope all of you will have a no noise weekend. And remember, the higher HF bands, 10, 15, 12, are really hopping with all sorts of activity. So Amanda, I've got to go and work my emergency group, but I'll turn it over to you, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks before the Dayton Ham Mention. And by the way, the American Radio Relay League has multiple books on interference eliminations. After all, they wrote the book. Amanda?
You're absolutely correct. Not only that, but there's at least one question every other month or so about some RF found in their shack where they're emailing QST and looking for an answer, and answers are always fantastic. So thank you for the experts at the ARRL. Speaking of the experts at the ARRL, let's bring in Mike Walters here, W8ZY. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Hi, Amanda. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Well, Mike's going to talk to the whole group here about some fascinating news from the ARRL, about some club grants that are available thanks to the ARDC. Now, everybody knows we had the ARDC on back in maybe October to talk about their grants, but the ARRL was kind enough to try to secure some of those for us. So Mike's going to talk about it. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Amanda. And it turns out that ARDC came to the league, to the ARRL. And I feel like I feel like I'm talking to the government here. It's all these acronyms. What they decided was the ARDC said, we want to try and spread some of this grant money around. The problem that they felt like they had was they didn't have a field organization. So they said, okay, who do we know that has section managers and things like that scattered about the country? They came to us and they said, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you guys $500,000 and we want you to spread it around to clubs all across the country in grants up to $25,000. So we've been working on a program like this for some time now, and we're getting ready to launch it actually next Wednesday, May the 4th. For all of you geeks in the crowd, that's Star Wars Day.
I'm one of those.
I happen to be a Trek fan myself, but I can appreciate it. Anyway, May the 4th, we're going to launch with a public webinar, and we'll put the link up there in just a moment. So Josh has that up. This is the website on the ARRL website, and it's simply under the foundation, and right there in the middle of, right in there, you'll find there is a link to register for the website. So it's a free webinar. You don't have to give them your children's first names and all that kind of stuff. But we want you to come and listen to how we're going to do this. So the trick is a club, and it has to be a club. It's not open to individuals. A club can apply for a grant for virtually anything they want. If you come and say, oh, we want to buy a new radio for field day and we're going to keep it in a closet the rest of the year, we're probably going to say, maybe you need to think about where you're getting your money. But if you have a project where you're doing outreach, you're doing training, whether it's ARRI's training or new license training or lots of different things like that, we want to help you. And the club grant program, as I said, can give you up to $25,000 for as long as we have money to give it away. And we're going to be trying to give these grants out this summer. Now, one of the special grant programs that we have included in this is what we're calling a club revitalization grant. So this is for clubs, and I've been doing ham radio now for 45 years or so, and I've been in clubs in a couple of different parts of the country. Some of them doing really well, and some of them are kind of struggling. We want to talk to the clubs that may be struggling. They may be having trouble with, we don't have a place to meet. We need a little money to help us put, help us have a place to meet, or help us, cover insurance, things like that. But those clubs are the ones that are struggling, and we want to help those guys. So we created a special program called the Club Revitalization Grant, and clubs will be able to apply for this. Not only will we talk to them about a grant to help them along, but we also will hook them up with a club mentor, someone who can actually help the club, advise the club on programs and processes and things that they need to help to get the club rolling again. So we're trying to do everything we can. Clubs are by far the backbone of the field organization, And the ARRL wouldn't exist without its members. So we want the clubs to be healthy. We want the clubs to get all of the resources that we can. And there's a few things that we've put into the requirements for this. One question comes up all the time is, does a club have to be an ARRL affiliated club to apply for a grant? And the answer to that is absolutely no. You do not have to be an affiliated club. Obviously, we'd love for you to be an affiliated club, but you do not have to be one. Okay? You do not have to be a 501c3. If you are awarded a grant, your club is responsible for whatever the tax ramifications of that might be, but it's not a requirement for you. So there are things like that we're going to have. There will be an online application form, which will be announced next week. You'll be able to go fill out the application form. There are some other forms that go with the application, and templates will be provided for all of those. So you'll be able to go and fill out everything online. Then it will come to us, and it goes into a committee of folks who will decide who gets which grant. It's all exciting.
It really is, Mike. And everybody in the chat room, this is his first stop on the tour of his syndicate of stopping on all of these shows. So everyone give him a hard time, press him for questions, but honestly, you filled in everything quite well. The only thing I would say is it sounds like really the grant is available to any club for a lot of things. Give us some specifics of what not to apply for.
Well, first of all, you cannot use the grant for any commercial purpose.
Okay.
So, imagine you have a club and you want to put up a remote station and you want to charge for access. Mm-hmm. Then if you're charging for access more than expense, then you've created a commercial program, and the grants are not available for that. If you are trying to put together any other commercial program, the grant is not available for that. We would love to see the grants used, and of course we're not going to say no, you can't use it for this. Originally, one of ARDC's ideas was if the club wants to have a pizza party, they can apply for a grant. That would be one heck of a pizza party, believe me. But a grant can be anywhere from $500 to $25,000. So anything that the club comes up with, the biggest thing that we don't want to see the clubs do is put it into something where more than just the club is not going to get benefit from it. So,
okay.
Our classic example, as we said, is we want to buy a radio for field day, but we're going to stick it away the rest of the year and not use it for anything. We'd love to see, programs and hardware used as much as possible.
Very good. And some of the questions in our chat room tonight, is there a minimum number of club members required for participation or application?
We have not set a minimum number. You have to be a real club. And you will be filling out some information when you do the application. That came up in actually one of our planning meetings of, a couple of guys could just get together and say, we're a club now. So you have to be a little more than that.
And this is what Josh just, we found new clubs. Are they still eligible? Like meaning maybe even this from 2022? Absolutely.
The question is, as I said, are they a real club? Is it a real organization? If it's just a group of guys who sit around on Saturday morning and have coffee and don't really have any kind of structure, they're going to have issues. Right. But if it's a real club, then absolutely, they can be a month old or 30 years old. We have clubs that are over 100 years old. And a couple of them have already told me, we have things that we want to do, and we're going to apply for grants.
Absolutely. Kind of one club I know is the Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club. I think they're over 100 years old. The next question I had was in the application process, you're gonna be able to determine some of those things. So you're gonna have like requesting their bylaws and constitution and all of that, obviously.
Well,
so everyone needs to have that kind of almost a business plan in order.
What we're going to do is when you open up the application, there's going to be a section that you'll fill out online, which is basically registration, contact information for the club and things, who's the president, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it will be in a group of documents that you're going to be answering questions about what is your grant, what are you going to do with the money, and how is it going to be useful for the community, how is it going to be useful for the ham community, how are you going to do outreach, things like that. So we really want you to be prepared. So we're going to provide those templates for you. We knew that if we just said, send us a document that says how you're going to use the money, we would get everything from 1 page to 40-page documents. So we don't do that. We'll give you a template.
Okay, and the next question, we've just restarted the Aries group in our county. How will it work for Aries groups? The same?
The same. And,
okay.
But now, we do have Aries groups that are not clubs. So one thing to keep in mind, this grant program is for clubs. If your Aries group is not an organized club, find yourself an organized club nearby to work with. There are specific things within the grants for Aries, Aries training, Aries equipment, things like that. Part of one of the stipulations of the ARRL Foundation grants, which are up to $3,000, is that they cannot be used for Aries equipment. So, it's not an idea of apply for a grant to buy a new repeater controller or something like that. Mm-hmm. There's no stipulation specifically like that within these grants. So if you have a justification, say you have a repeater that's used for Aries operations and it covers a geographic area that may be underserved, that's up to you. Come up with a business plan and we'll see what we can do.
Awesome. So now the next one goes to school clubs, and I think we would all be passionate about helping school clubs. If they have a club call sign, et cetera, are they also eligible for this?
Yes, like I said, as long as it's an organized club,
okay,
they're absolutely eligible.
Great. And one of my questions is the committee here has, you guys, everyone watching, the ARRL has put together a fantastic committee for this, and I actually don't know who they all are, but they're doing a really good job and really thinking this through. So Mike, the next thing is like the follow through. So you guys are going to be following the steps of these clubs after they get the money and making sure that everything's working out for them, and you're going to have a lot of follow up. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, we're actually hiring somebody at the league to kind of be an organizer to follow up with them. Their job is this person that we're posting a position for right now is not going to be a grant coordinator as such, like, colleges have grant coordinators and things like that. This is more of an administrative role. And when your club is awarded a grant, one of the requirements, first of all, is you have to sign an agreement with the league that says you're going to do what you say you're going to do with the money. But second, you're going to have to file reports on a timely basis within 3 months or 6 months or at the end of your program to tell us how you use the money. And also, we want those clubs to know that we want to be involved with talking about how they're using those grants. So let me tell you about something else that's going to happen.
Let's hear it.
QST is going to have a new feature shortly, and it's going to be spotlighting clubs itself. So we're going to be talking to clubs who use these grants to do good things, and we're going to be writing those up so that clubs are going to get recognition for the projects that they're doing. And we want clubs to get recognition. That's a big thing. That's where I spend a lot of my time. So we want clubs to get the recognition for the good programs that they're doing.
Absolutely. And the next initiative that I think the ARRL has come up with, and you're gonna be debuting this, I believe, at Dayton. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is the club checkup, right?
Yeah, we're calling it the Club Health Checkup. And this is kind of the process. If you're an old guy like me, you go to the doctor a lot. Every time you go to the doctor, they hand you that clipboard and it says, have you ever had broken bones or tuberculosis or itchy feet or, whatever, all those different things that it's a big long list of things. So what we've done is we put together a card that says, is your club doing this? And it's got a whole list of things that we want clubs to think about. If you're not doing it, maybe it's something that your club can do. And then on the back of the card, there is a list of resources for how to become an affiliated club, how to become a special service club. The affiliated clubs who go the extra mile and put things, we actually can make those special service clubs. And then collegiate clubs and things like that. So there's some resources on the back of the card. But the card will be at Dayton. I'll be in the booth. Come by the ARRL booth if you come to Dayton and ask for one of those, because you're going to take the card home with you. And the idea is, now I want to know what's going on in the club and how we can make things better.
Very good, Mike. Well, thank you so much. Real quick, again, Mike just said he's going to be at Dayton, so make sure you go there and overwork him with questions and find out everything you can about all of this information. And also welcome him to Dayton for the first time, because this is going to be his first year there. Mike, with that in mind, you got 30 seconds. Anything else you want to fill us in on?
Well, the website, Josh put it up there. It's ARRL.org/clubs. I'm sorry, club-grants- what was it? Club program. Yes, I'm sorry. Had a moment there. Club grant program, but it's club-grant-program. And it's on the website now. Go look at it. Register for that webinar. I want to have about I think our limit on the webinar was 500 people. So I want to fill it up and invite everybody to come. And we're going to be sending that particular link out to as many people as we can over the next couple of days. So come and see us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here. Josh, any other questions I might have missed?
I just love the card idea for the club checkup. I think that is a wonderful idea. So smart. That's very forward-looking.
And it looks really nice, too.
Oh, I got to find a picture of it.
It's really nicely designed.
I know Steve's in the chat. Send me a picture of it, Steve. Good game, Steve. Good game.
I also got a sneak peek of it. Thank you, Mike. Join us anytime when you have some updates on this. Maybe we'll bring you back in July so you can announce who some of the club grantees are, and have fun in Dayton. Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. When you come to
Perfect.
Dayton, I'm easy to find. I tell people I'm 6 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and I look like Santa Claus. So it's hard to miss me in a crowd. Me and between myself and Steve Goodgame, you can't get by either one of us. So.
Oh, you guys are funny.
That's true. That is true. Well said.
All right,
Mike.
Josh, why don't you go ahead and send it over to Icom?
Thanks.
Be a Field Day leader. Field Day is ham radio's most popular event. On June 26th and 27th, more than 40,000 North American hams come together to operate remotely. Connect with nature. Connect with friends. With a powerful and high-quality Icom radio, easily cut through pileups to get that contesting edge. Our popular IC705 portable, IC7300, and IC7610 SDR transceivers are the clear choice for DXers and contesters across the globe. The IC705 is the perfect transceiver for hams who enjoy both the great indoors and outdoors on Field Day. Features and functionalities at the tips of your fingers in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. And it weighs in at just under 2 pounds. 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. 5 watts with BP 272, 10 watts with external 13.8 volt DC. Single sideband CW, AM, FM, as well as full D-Star functions. The IC7300 is a high-performance innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. This is a radio that changed the way entry-level HF is designed. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. The real HF fun starts here. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out faint signals in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The Icom IC7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that has changed the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. For more information on these and all the great Icom radios, visit icomamerica.com/amateur.
And we thank Icom for supporting Ham Nation. Just a reminder at the end of the show, and actually the link is live now, if you go to Icom America /Ham Nation, the link is in the description, and you click that Enter Now button, you can join their bi-weekly giveaway. Basically, every time Ham Nation is live, so even if you get 3 episodes a month, there'll be 3 giveaways. They'll pick 3 swag winners. The swag winners then go into a larger list that is for the monthly drawing of the month. So grand prize for the 2730 in April was Jeremy E. KK7WT. And the swag winners were Robert H. W2NJ, Brian S. N4SRB, Michael O. W5SKK. So they're all going to get an Icom swag pack. And yes, every month Icom gives away radio, so if you want to enter into that, make sure you take the link in the description. I will mention really quick, since today's short shots with Gordo was finding noise, it may be a little bit more expensive than using an AM radio, but I take this little loop and I attach it to my 705 and I set it to the noise frequency and I walk around the house and use it like a Ghostbusters ghost machine looking for where the noise sources are, and that works really well. We're going to continue the show now. We're going to throw it over to Amanda. Amanda, you got some more great guests for us. What's going on?
I do. It's a busy interview night for me. Thank you so much, Josh. And that swag bag is the whole package is awesome. Definitely. I don't know if we qualify. All right, moving on. Let's go to the Voice of America over here. We've got Jocelyn Brault. Jocelyn, your call sign just left my mind. I am so sorry. KD8VRX, how are you doing? And also we have Lee joining us, K8CLI. This is Lee's first time being on here, so we should really, really put him under pressure. I'm just kidding. Anyhow, Jocelyn and Lee, you guys are going to be hosting the VOA Museum for extended hours over Hamvention. Jocelyn, I'll send it over to you first.
Well, first, thank you very much, Amanda, for having us on. And yes, the museum will be running extended hours. And the club here, which I represent, will also be open. So if you want to operate from the WC8 VOA shack, just make sure you've got your license. I was also informed that we're going to have some items for sale. Some of the members, instead of bringing stuff to Dayton, will have it here. So another reason to come and visit us. But I'll pass it to Lee since he's really the museum person. So he's got all the details. So Lee, go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you, Jocelyn, and thank you, Amanda, for the invitation.
Of course.
We certainly want to invite everyone to come on down to the Voice of America Museum. It's a ham radio heaven for the most part. And we have things, whether you are brand new in amateur radio and you just got your license and you're just figuring everything out, or you've been in amateur radio for 65 years like myself, we've got something for everyone. And I'll run through just a real quick tour that you can take, and I will be there most of the time. If you want a technical tour, myself or someone else will be there for a highly technical tour. But the station had 6 250 kW transmitters, shortwave transmitters, and one was saved. We've opened it up, and you can walk inside now, that transmitter, and see all the details, very similar to what's in your benchtop, tabletop linear, but at large scale. For example, the pi circuit is 36 feet long.
Wow.
On this transmitter, so things are just done on a larger scale. And then we have brand new in the museum is one room absolutely dedicated to amateur radio. And you can start from what a transmitter looked like in the late teens, spark gap, all the way to the first tube transmitters. And we have a considerable Collins collection. And you can track and look at what amateur radio's been through for the last almost 100 years as it developed. And then we have a large propagation room. And particularly if you're new in amateur radio, we have a laser display where we can show you what propagation really does. We have a chart with the ED and F layers, as they were talking about earlier, and the activation from the sun. And we'll show you what takeoff angle can do and what the change in ionization layer height can do. It's very effective for understanding propagation. Also, if you're new to antennas, we have a considerable antenna display that will show you the different patterns in a very easy to understand area. In addition, we have a large diorama. We can show you the rhombics, and there's a big secret that was at this station and not shared with any other VOA station around the world, to where they increased the efficiency of a rhombic to 99%, where normally it was around 50%. So there's a lot to see. You can actually go to the gift shop and take home an 807 that was used in the transmitter, if you like, if you're an 807 collector. And out back in the station is a antenna switch, where we switched 6 high-power transmitters to 22 different antennas. It's huge. It's a 6 by 22 crossbar scanner. I never did measure the size of it, Jocelyn. I'm not sure how big it is, but it's huge. And it went online 1944, and it's an amazing piece of construction. So with that, I think I've covered pretty much everything. As Jocelyn said, I just got a call tonight, Jocelyn. We're going to have even more stuff in the flea market there at the station. So there'll be a nice flea market in back. So come on down, see us. There's lots to see, and it's a good educational experience also.
Can I jump in really quick and ask,
yes,
is the flea market live during your hours that you're open? So 9 p.m. the flea market is going to be open? Oh, buddy, I'll be there. I was already coming, but now I'm super more excited. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Josh is in trouble.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was going to say as well, when Lee talked about the switching, to switch the transmitters to the antennas, there's 2 sides of it, and a truck can drive through the center of it. So that's the switching matrix. It is not a small piece of equipment.
Impressive. Now I'm just going to go out to our outsider here, literally. Yeah. Don Wheelbanks, you've been on this tour. Tell us how enjoyable it is.
I have. I've gone a couple of times. My son Tyler has been, and he was just enthralled with the whole thing. And the last time we were up in the Cincinnati area, it was for Neil Rapp's wedding. Mm-hmm. My wife and I went up there. Now, she's not a ham. She's not a technical person. I mean, she's been around me for 38 years with radio stations and ham radio and things like that. But she was completely and totally enthralled by the whole thing. She had never seen anything like it, and she told me in the car, she said, every citizen in the United States needs to see what this is and hear the story of the voice of America. When Adolf Hitler refers to you as the Cincinnati Liars, you know you're doing something right. And
absolutely,
the Voice of America made a huge difference in countless lives over in those Eastern Bloc countries, and still is. The Voice of America is still making a difference in countless lives all over the globe. And so, yeah, I wish I was coming to Dayton this year, because every time I'm up in the Cincinnati area, I'm going to be at the museum. And I've been putting off joining the club just kind of from afar. One of these days I've got to do that. But actually, also, Jocelyn, I've got some QSL cards I keep forgetting to send up there to you for the QSL wall up there in the club station. So yeah, seriously, it's a must see. The VOA Museum and the KD8. I started to say KD8 VRX station, but the WC8 VOA station is so much fun to operate. It's almost at superstation status. I mean, it can be heard everywhere.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that brings
good
us
stuff.
back to Don mentioned it's Cincinnati, so it's a little bit of ways away from Dayton, but not far. Jocelyn, tell us hours, extended hours, and directions.
Yeah, so Joss, if you want to pull up that website, it's we put it on the radio call sign, so it's at wc8voa.org, and we made it easy, so it's /hamvention, all one word. It's also accessible from the front page. But the hours are going to be from Thursday through Saturday, 1 to 9 p.m. And on Sunday, because Hamvention is going to close early, it's going to be 1 to 5. Usually, I believe Hamvention closes or shuts down at about 5 p.m., so you got about 4 hours to come and see us. We're about, I want to say, about 35 minutes south of Xenia. We're not that far.
No.
There's multiple ways to get there. There's a map there on the website where you can just go and do the directions from there. It will map it to you without any issues. And we're looking forward to seeing a lot of people come in and enjoy the museum. As Lee said, I will be here. I will be at Hamvention most of the weekend. And at night, I will be here helping out with tours and make sure people have a good time and spread the word about our little museum. And as Don mentioned, the museum is more than just radio technology. We talked, the Voice of America was created, because of World War II and to stop the propaganda, and then stayed on the air to combat the Cold War that was going on and spread again the right information. And again, with the events that are going on, we're still on the air. So even if you're not, as Don said, even if you're not into radio, there is something for you to see here for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Particularly non-technical people. We work very hard to make this a layman story, as opposed. I mean, if you're a ham, yeah, we'll talk technical. But most of our visitors are not technical. And we have a lot of immigrants that immigrated into this country that will come to the museum, and they learned English over the Voice of America radio.
Wow.
I've had young women from Vietnam and China almost break out in tears when they actually stand in the transmitter that they heard. That's where they learned English, from this station. So it's quite an emotional experience also.
It seems like a totally amazing experience. So thank you, gentlemen, for being on tonight.
Yep.
And this group is so friendly. Send them an email if you have any questions about how to get there, anything like that, and they'll be happy to answer it. You can find them everywhere on social media. So.
And actually, Amanda, sorry,
Yes,
I was
sir.
going to say we also will have a booth in Building 1 at Hamvention with flyers with direction and anything, questions. So either send us an email, and if you forget and you're at Hamvention, look for us in Building 1, and somebody will be able to guide you and make sure you get to come here.
Perfect. Thank you both, Lee and Jocelyn.
You're welcome.
Thank
all
you.
right.
I have a trivia question real quick about the Voice of America, and particularly the Bethany Relay Station. I'm going to pose this out to you, Amanda. It's may or may not be a trick question. How many microphones do you think were in that station, in the Bethany Relay Station there at the Voice of America?
So this is embarrassing because I've seen a lot of behind the scenes pictures from Bethany and all of the 3 VOAs because I helped design their QSL card, right? And I'm going to say 5.
No, 0.
What?
0. You know why? Because all the programming was piped in electronically from other places. That way, the stations could not be taken over by terrorists or whatever and taken off the air by shooting announcers or news people or whatever, because there were no live mics. There were no microphones in there at all, period. Everything came in from other places remotely, so it could not be shut down. Could not be shut down. I think it's fascinating. Also, here's another thing at the museum there. If you're into classic cars, there's something for you too. If you're into old refrigerators and mid 50s appliances, there's some.
Yeah.
Right. There's something there for you. There, if you're into the history of broadcasting and radio and television in Cincinnati, Ohio, there's something there for you. There's a a diamond Blaw-Knox tower just right down the street from that at WLW at the transmitter site. It's an incredible place, and really everybody needs to see it. Just the history and the fascination. So that's I just wanted to add the trivia about no microphones ever in any of those VOA relay stations. Kind of interesting.
I'm going to have to go back and look at those pictures to verify this. Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen. With that, let's go back to Liar Dawn and take it away.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Which Don is it?
It's Lon.
Don, I think they're going to have to make you a stop on the tour. You're going to have to move to Cincy, I think.
I would love to. I'd love to. That's right. How to tell the difference. Don, Lon, his evil twin. This is Don. This is Lon. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news of they made these for Dayton a number of years ago, and they were everywhere. And in fact, there's actually an almost life-size cardboard cutout stand-up of me that it's off in the other room. I've got it here. It was in my production room at iHeart in New Orleans. That people would come in and look at it and go, "Why do you have a cardboard cutout of yourself wearing a kilt?" Doesn't everybody? Let's go ahead and get into the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline. From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 2321, this is Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. First up, a story of ham radio and high adventure on the open seas. Japan's most well-known yachtsman, an octogenarian adventurer, is hoping to become the oldest person to cross the Pacific alone, with a radio, of course.
In 1962, Kenichi Hori became the first man to cross the Pacific Ocean alone, non-stop. He was 23 when he ended his journey from Japan 94 days later, docking his yacht in the U.S. city of San Francisco. Now, at the age of 83, the seasoned sailor is on his way and ahead of schedule to becoming the oldest person to cross that ocean again. 60 years later, he is making the trip in reverse. He left San Francisco on March 26 on a yacht measuring 19 feet or 5.8 meters, stocked with food, water, a satellite phone, and his preferred method of communication, an amateur radio. Although no call sign was listed for him on QRZ.com, Southgate Amateur Radio News reported it as JR3JJE. According to a report in the Asahi Shimbun, the prospect of a contact with him had amateurs back home in Japan adding extra-large antennas in the hope of scoring some big DX. According to news reports, propagation has been something of a challenge for most. There's still time for a QSO, however. Kenichi was spotted near Hawaii on April 17th, and he doesn't expect to arrive home until early June. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jim Meachin, ZL2VHF.
You'll find the link to the map in the print edition of this week's Newsline report. In Ohio next month, there'll be more to Hamvention Weekend than just Hamvention. The nearby VOA Museum is a must-see.
It's become a Hamvention tradition. Expanded hours for visitors at the National Voice of America Museum of Broadcasting during Hamvention Weekend next month. The museum and the Westchester Amateur Radio Association are looking forward to hosting convention goers and providing a look at the exhibits, which include the Robert Drake collection of radios and the recently restored transmitter that provided the first VOA broadcast into occupied Europe on February 1st, 1942. Meanwhile, if you're hoping to get in some QSOs while you're spending the weekend in Ohio, licensed amateurs will be able to operate from the club's WC8 VOA station on the premises. The expanded hours are Thursday, May 19th, Friday, May 20th, and Saturday, May 21st from 1 to 9 p.m., and Sunday, May 22nd from 1 to 5 p.m. Admission is $10 at the door. The museum is a short drive from the fairgrounds in Xenia. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Neil Rapp, WB9 VPG.
And another amateur radio reunion among friends is taking place in Germany in just a few weeks.
After a difficult period of cancellations of in-person gatherings around the world, Europe's #1 amateur radio event, Ham Radio Friedrichshafen, is calling itself a reunion with friends. a theme shared by another of the world's major ham radio exhibitions, Hamvention in Xenia, Ohio in the US. The event website says that Germany looks forward to playing host to the world at the 45th International Amateur Radio Exhibition at the Neue Messe in Friedrichshafen from June 24th to 26th. It is important to note that tickets are only available online, so those attending must have tickets in hand when they arrive at the venue. Tickets can either be printed or displayed at the event from a mobile device. For full details, including the currently in effect COVID-19 health protocols, visit the website, whose address appears in this week's text version of our newscast at arnewsline.org. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Ed Durant, DD5LP.
A reminder, the nominating period for the 2022 Bill Pasternak WA6 ITF Amateur Radio Newsline Young Ham of the Year Award is now open. The nominating form can be found on our website, arrnewsline.org. Hover your mouse over Awards and you'll see it in the top of the drop-down menu. We invite you to join us in Alabama at the Huntsville Hamfest on Saturday, August 20th, as we present the award live on the main stage. To learn more about the Huntsville Hamfest, please visit hamfest.org. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Jim Meacham, ZL2BHF, Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, Ed Durant, DD5LP, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
After all the activity we've been having over the past 10 days or so, our sun is finally beginning to calm down just a little bit. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, we still have quite a few active regions on the Earth-facing disk, including a few really big flare players. Region 29, 93, 94, and 95 are still have high chances for big solar flares, just not the X factor that we've been dealing with over the past week. It looks like these regions are finally going to quiet down to some degree, and those radio blackouts aren't coming quite so fast and furiously. But we do still have some solar storms being launched. We had one launched on the 24th on the west side of the disk, and we also have what looks to be a new solar storm player that's going to be rotating more into Earth view here over the next couple days. This is region 2999, so we're watching it closely. Now, on top of that, we also have a big coronal hole you can see here. That's going to be rotating into the Earth strike zone in about 4 to 5 days, and it could be sending us some fast solar wind. So aurora photographers definitely get another chance at some aurora show. Now, as we take a look at our far side of the sun, this is stereo A, and it's looking at the sun just a little bit from the side. You can see that big coronal hole. That's the one that's going to be rotating into the Earth strike zone in about 4 or 5 days. But look behind it to the east limb. Look at all those active regions. There could be very well several different sunspot clusters in here, and although these don't necessarily look like they're going to be big flare players, they are launching solar storms, so we could get even more chances for solar storms hitting Earth in about a week or so, because there could be some decent Earth-directed launches. For more details on this week's space weather, including how these big flare players might affect space traffic, come check out my channel or see me at spaceweatherwoman.com.
There you go. Good stuff from Dr. T tonight and the rest of the Newsline crew. Make sure you follow her on Twitter at Tamitha Skov and check out spaceweatherwoman.com and check out her YouTube page as well. It's very easy to find. It's just Tamitha Skov. And somebody in the chat room, Delicious Lunch, commented that I am wearing literally the best shirt he's ever seen. Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. That's nice to hear, number one. And number two, if you're looking to me for fashion tips, you really need to get out of the house a little bit more often. But thank you so much for the kind words. And also, Brett Glass said that he was at the VOA Museum with me and Neil Rapp in Dayton 2019. The tour was fun, and so were we. Well, thank you. Yeah, we that was a good time. Anytime Neil and I are together, we always have a good time. Such a great guy. Anyway, that's going to do it for me tonight, I think. So, Amanda, let's go back over to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to Joe. Hi.
Oh, well, let's go to Joe. Joe, Amanda, it's hard to tell you. They're never. You never see them together.
Oh, we saved the best for. It could be. That's why I was not pictured there, is because I did not have my Amanda mask on. So
yes.
And we saved the best for last for Joe. Take it away, Joe. How you doing?
Oh,
there we go.
There
we go. That's a little better. Good evening. And mentioned the VOA tour. I've done it a couple times, and Jocelyn and crew there have done a wonderful job. I got to use the HF station there, and beautiful facility and well worth going to. And it's about 35, 40 minutes drive, well worth it, and lots of nice places to eat along the street there near 75 and so forth. I have been busy. Gordo mentioned that I might have trouble with noise in a electric vehicle or a hybrid. My first two Priuses, the noise level was 20/9. This new one, surprisingly, I used a magnetic antenna, and the radio was not plugged into the 12 volts in the car, but I'm going to test that. But as it was, with the radio on the front seat, I had no noise except for spark plug noise when the gas came on. When I was on batteries and the high voltage inverters running, there wasn't noise on HF. So I'm going to test out a few things, and maybe we're going to be able to use HF on the way to Dayton this year. Going to talk a little bit about some kits. I have been very busy over the last few weeks. I'm sorry I missed the show a couple weeks ago because I was in Branson at the Four States QRP annual convention, Branson, Missouri. Well worth going to, and it's a great place to take the family and see shows. I'm going to share my screen, and we should be able to see. There we go. We're going to take a look at a kit that I got in the mail today and I assembled today. This is a new kit that's put out by the Four State QRP group, and it's designed by David Kripe, NM0S, who is a Collins Aerospace RF design engineer. So this is kind of a neat little kit. Let's take a look at the circuit board, and you're going to see something that we have not put out before, and that is a kit with surface mount parts that you got to put on.
Ooh,
okay, but you can't be frightened by it, because actually these are about the biggest surface mount parts you'll ever see. First off, those are the regular parts that are not surface mount. You have a capacitor, a diode, a BNC jack, and 4 LEDs. And that's pretty much it. The rest is surface mount resistors. And the kit is going to be available possibly at 4 days in May. And I think they're telling me it's going to sell for around $15. And I got tasked today with writing a quick assembly manual for it. So that's why I threw the kit together, and I used two different methods. And I'm going to talk about that here. Those are the surface mount parts, and they look kind of small, but they really aren't. They're about as big as normal resistors. These are not those itty bitty tiny chips. These are pretty big. And so even those that are not experienced dealing with surface mount can handle these quite easily. And so the first method we use is I take a blob of solder and I lay that down on one of the pads, one of the two pads that surface mount part goes on. Then I take the tweezers and I hold it still and I heat it up with the soldering iron, and bang, now it's soldered real nice. Let it cool off, let go of the tweezers. Now I can take the soldering iron to the other side and solder that. And you can follow that pattern. You don't need any special tools or anything other than some tweezers just to hold it still. And be careful, because surface mount parts are light and they can kind of go flying. So I always recommend that you work on a cookie sheet so that things don't go flying off your table. What I did was the 5 lower resistors next to the LEDs were done with the soldering iron method, where we do one pad, then set the chip on it, and then heat it up, and then solder the other side. I don't know what the number of the parts are, the size. Maybe it's 1206, not sure. but they're very large and very easy to work with. So that's how you can do it if you don't want to go through the trouble of this. And what this is you can also use solder paste. Now, what solder paste is it's a mixture of solder and flux, and it's kind of a gray paste. And what I did was on the top resistors, I use that method. And what you do is you squirt little dabs of that paste on the pads, and then you take the tweezers and you put the part on those pads. Now, that paste is not like glue, but it's sticky enough that the parts pretty much stay in place, but they might be a little crooked. And we'll show you what that looks like. And you can see the paste. That doesn't look real neat at all. And everybody says, well, you know, you're going to get solder all over the place. Well, actually, you won't. And we'll explain that in a minute. Now, you can see I took the tweezers and I put all those parts there. And you notice there's some of them are crooked and a little off center and stuff like that on the top. The bottom ones are all pretty straight. Those are all soldered by hand. But the top ones are just sitting on that paste. And what we do is we use a heat gun. And you can get these at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And they are used for melting wax type things, like for scrapbook embossing. And don't use the kind of heat gun that you get at the hardware store, because the wind coming out of it will blow the surface mount parts away, even these big ones. So you see, I had that, and then I put that on the bench, and I heated it up. And take a look what it looks like. Now, what it does is it'll actually spread out. You see this kind of a gray blob that's spreading out over part of the, maybe as much as a 1/4 inch away from these pads. And what happens is that's the flux mixture. And as the flux gets heated and melts and flows, and then the solder eventually melts, it kind of retracts and goes right back to those pads, because the printed circuit board has what we call resist on it. It's a material that resists flux and solder. And so it actually contracts and goes right back onto those pads. And the parts which were a little crooked, guess what? They're all straight, because the surface tension of the flux and solder mix actually pulls it straight and makes them nice and straight and symmetrical. So what I did was I obviously did the first 5 first, then I did the 10 across the top, then I put in the LEDs, and then there's one little disc capacitor and one diode, and then finally the BNC jack. And what this is a dummy load for working on QRP radios. Now, as you know, I build a lot of kit radios. And it's really a neat convenience item to have something like this that not only acts as a dummy load and puts a correct load on it, but it also tells me how much power it puts out. And the LEDs light up from right to left, 1/2 watt, 1 watt, 2 watts, and 5 watts. So you can get a pretty good approximation of how much power your little QRP kits are putting out. And so this is a neat kit. It will be available from 4 States QRP in a few weeks, but it will be available first at 4 days in May at vendor night and club night at the 4 Days in May Hotel, which is the Holiday Inn in Fairborn. Now we're going to look at another kit that I just started on also. This is the ME40. Dave Benson, K1SWL, used to sell the SW series of QRP transceivers. And he retired from that a series of kits, as well as the Rock Mic kits. The Rock Mic kits are now made by Rex, W1REX in Maine. And those are available at QRPME.com. And these are available at Midway Electronics now. And he has taken over producing the SW series CW transceivers, which are a whole lot of fun and neat radio. And I'll probably be using this dummy load to tune it up and check it out. What you're looking at here is all the parts. Now, yes, there's a lot of parts. So this is not a kit you're going to put together in one evening. You're going to spend some time doing it. But these are all the parts sorted out and ready to go. This is the case that comes with the kit. Well worth getting the case. already pre-punched and labeled and everything, and all ready to go. And this is what the PC board looks like before anything has been stuffed onto it. And I already made my first mistake, and I think you can see it in this one. You can see that in between these crystals here, the three crystals on the left, there's little capacitors in there. And I had put the crystals in before the capacitors. And so getting those little tiny capacitors jammed in there is not easy. So got to make sure you put in the parts that are going to get blocked by others first. So kind of a reminder to those building this kit. And that's as far as the kit is right now on my bench, and it will be completed, and it will appear in the June and July issues of CQ Magazine. And for those wondering where the print issues are, April is actually showing up in mailboxes. So you're going to get to see all sorts of my columns again. Now, what do you do with all these kits, which are really designed to be taken out in the field and light and easy to use and really good quality radios? Well, there are parks on the air and there are summits on the air. And this is a mountain summit. This is Whitney Mountain in northwest Arkansas, kind of near Bentonville, about 10 miles from Bentonville, overlooking Beaver Lake. And the summits on the air is quite a devoted group of people, as are the parks on the air. And sometimes you can do both. You can do a summit and a park because it may be the same place. In this case, it was not a park, but this one, we did 2 mountains on the day I was there. And this is my very, very first time ever activating a summit on the air, plus using one of my kit radios on a mountain. So this was a lot of fun. I used my Pentec TR35, and you'll see that in a little bit. We also used a Yaesu FT897 for single sideband. This particular mountain has just a wonderful view. However, it was a drive up, which meant you could drive to the top, and there's a parking lot there. In fact, there's a housing development on top of that mountain. And so it was very easy to go to, a publicly open parking lot, trees surrounding it, and so it was very easy to throw strings up in the trees and pull down and string up a 2040 trap dipole, which was very compact. So this was my first SOTA activation, and I was very fortunate to do it with 2 people who are very experienced SOTA activators. In fact, they're only a couple points short of getting their Mountain Goat certificate for how many of these summits they've activated. This is Gary, W0MNA from Leavenworth, Kansas, which is about 2.5 hours away from me. And you can see in his hand he's got a string and a weight that's in a piece of PVC. And I think he's got like fishing weights in there. And then he throws it up in the tree and it falls down, and he pulls on that, and we get the antenna all strung up. He usually goes with his wife, Martha, W0ERI, and they have constructed this special 2 headset thing so that people can work them both and get extra points for working more than one operator on top of that mountain. And I got to use that radio as well as my own radios while up on the mountain. You have to work 4 people for it to be an activation. It's kind of similar to parks on the air, which requires 10. And this particular mountain where this shot is taken was exact opposite of the first one. The first one in Arkansas was easy. We just drove to the top and parked and got out of the car and set up. You're not allowed to operate from your vehicle in the summits or parks on the air. And so we were at the kind of opposite thing at Pilot Knob Mountain, which was in southeast or south Missouri. And this particular mountain was a 1/4-mile hike on loose rocks and stuff, very steep. And you had to park the cars at the highway and then hike up the trailhead. And it was not an easy climb to the top, but once you were up there, we could sit down and operate. Once again, we strung wires in the trees, and away we go. And so that is Gary and Martha operating, and I have to thank them again for the opportunity. This is something that I've always wanted to try, and I've always worked different summit activators from here, but just never seen what it was like on the other end. And there I am with the appropriate sweatshirt of people climbing mountains, and I'm working CW on the Pentec TR35. And I also looked at my RBN readout after we came down from the mountain, and I saw that there was great signal reports from both coasts on the reverse beacon network. You can see we use those Bioenno batteries in a little plastic case. And then I have a case that has my little 3D printed key and headsets and things like that for my radio. And that's kind of an over-the-shoulder shot. You can see I'm pretty busy there on CW. And was a lot of fun. We did most of our work on 20 and 40 on that particular adventure. So we're going to see if I can do this. And I'm going to show a couple more things here. This is the surface mount kit. As you can see, those chips are pretty big. They are not tiny. They're about as big. They're bigger than an 1/8 watt resistor. The actual value of these, I think, are like 2 watt resistors. Not sure, at least one. And like I said, the kit's about $15. If you want to learn surface mount, you can try the 2 different methods if you want. But if you don't want the expense of the solder paste, it's super easy to do it just with your normal soldering iron. This is a kit to make an antenna that would be great for what? Summits on the air. It is a matching transformer that goes on a tiny round circuit board that's not much wider than the base of the BNC connector in this thing. And you can wrap the wire around a little tiny winder that I can make on my 3D printer. And I'd be able to cram that into that little case that has the radio in it. So I can have an antenna, a counterpoise, the battery, the radio, everything, and ready to rock and roll. So this is something I'm going to be working with. This is available from K6ARK. Let's see, what else do we have? This one is something that was in ARRL's QST in April. And this is a kind of a little box. It kind of reminds you of a Raspberry Pi, but it's called an M5. And it's got a touch screen and everything. And this right now is showing propagation in gray line. And so it also has a scrolling set of satellite availability as well as DX cluster spots. And if you take it in the field, you can hook it to your cell phone through your Wi-Fi or whatever, and or Bluetooth, and it works. So I've been really busy building kits. I probably forgot something, but I will see everybody at Dayton and look forward to seeing everybody there. And it's going to be a great reunion. And by the way, if you see me, you're going to want to do a disco pose because one of the songs is going to be fun. So what you're going to want to do is when you see me, say, get out your camera because I want to pose for your slideshow. And so we're going to have people on the slideshow. As you saw a few years ago, we did Sharp Dressed Man, and we kind of mimicked the poses of ZZ Top. Well, we're going to do a little bit of Saturday Night Fever. So get your best disco poses out and pose for the camera, and we'll get you in the slideshow. All about the reunion at Hamvention in Xenia. So let's see. Who gets it next? I bet
I do.
it's you, Amanda.
There's your pose.
There you go. There's your pose.
Okay. Not my era, but still fun times. Okay. Thank you, Joe, so much, and appreciate that. We did have one, and Joe, I apologize so much, but somebody had said and I don't know what part of the segment this was. He said, "Good looking kit. Does that work on VHF?"
No, this one is strictly HF. And in fact, I don't think I mean, it's obviously it'd be a good dummy load on 6 meters, but the accuracy of the power display would not be there.
Very good. And Josh, did you capture any questions that I might have missed?
There was one correction. Let me just mention it. A couple of people
had
talked about it. PODA you can activate from your car, but Summits
Thank
on the
you.
air
Oh,
you
okay.
absolutely have
Summits
to,
you have to be
carry
at. Okay.
your equipment to the activating position. Now,
And
how far you go is kind of not necessarily nailed down, but the idea is that you get to your operating position under your own power is kind of the idea.
And yeah, that was quite a hike. And so didn't bring a lot of heavy stuff. We used those tiny little wire antennas with matching transformers on them, and it worked wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked a lot of sodas here in Colorado where they're 14ers and they park at like the bottom parking lot and walk their way up. So we're talking maybe 200 feet, but the incline could actually be pretty steep. So there's that. All right. Let's wrap it up tonight. I just wanted to talk about World Amateur Radio Day, which happened on April 18th. I made the best or biggest mistake of my life because I posted on social media and said, I'm celebrating World Amateur Radio Day. Who wants a WinLink message? I am not very schooled in WinLink, and Jeff was just a soldier in helping me get through this, and I learned a whole lot. But I sent 77 messages over HF. I didn't use Telnet or anything like that. So and each was a personal message. I could have put a whole bunch of people on the message together, but I thought that's not right. This is World Amateur Radio Day. I asked if they wanted a message, so I would send them individually. And it was a lot of fun. It took a lot of time. And I learned a lot about Vera. And if you're schooled in this, it's not a problem because you know that if you're like a registered user of it and you pay the $80 a year, it's not a big deal. You have a lot more. Yeah, you have a lot more options. So the biggest thing was not being registered. I paid the price because a lot of the gateways that I connected to were like 5-minute timeout if you're not.
Well, 70, I'm going to bring up the main screen. So I do a lot of WinLink, and 70 emails is a lot. I get a ton of WinLink, and gateway decision is the most vital aspect of WinLink. And if you have a good gateway, you can sail through those very quickly. But if you're hunting and pecking, if you will, for a good gateway, you can be out there for a little while, and then you start hitting timeouts because your data transmission is low. But you can see it when you start really cooking with the data. You're through it really quickly.
Yeah, so you get the 500 baud connection or whatnot when you're not registered. And to be honest, everybody, I just don't have an extra $80 a year for this few and far between thing. But if you use it a lot, or if you're an Aries member that uses it a whole lot, do it. Pay the $80. I think it will be a lot faster for you. But again, I have now marked favorites because they don't have any timeouts or they'll let me stay connected and things like that. So I really appreciated that. And a couple of them gave me shout outs of thanks for using my connection to get through. And yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having an awesome connection, by the way. Thanks for propagation being right that I could use you on 20 meters. And I switch back and forth between 20 and 40 and try to see how far I could use one. Canada was pretty much the furthest I used. And again, a lot learned about connection lengths, things like that. So
it's good stuff, though.
We need to
really
talk
like
more
WinLink.
about that, I think, on the show because I would like to take people through my learning lesson and tell them a big idiot trying to do this for the first time. So there was a lot of hitting start and hearing it and no connection. And then I would hit stop, and then all of a sudden it connected anyways. I'm like, oh, awesome. But then propagation was really bad. So then it took 20 minutes to send 5 minute messages. And then there's the whole thing of like, I'm just going to stick 10 messages in that outbox. And oh my, never ever do that. Don't do it.
That's a really good idea. And in fact, I could just talk about that because I use it like all the time. Like I said, I'm a big advocate of WinLink. So VoA in particular is my preferred method. It is the fastest method unless you're going to go buy yourself like a $1,200 Pactor modem or something like that.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm with you. I love it. So that's very good. By the way, I want to mention Dawn had to leave, but Lon has joined us to wrap up the show here. So just want to make sure we say hi to Lon, everybody. Dawn had to go. He's got some stuff going on, but yeah. Okay. So I think we're good.
We are, and I just I was so consumed with the show tonight, everybody. I'm sorry I was not that interactive in the chat, but I did not see any of the frequencies for the nets. If anyone saw that real quick, just
I didn't see it. I didn't
think
anybody
type
posted it. Yeah, if we've got anybody in there that's running the nets tonight, let's get that information out there for everybody.
Other than that, you can join the digital nets. D-Star is on 14 Charlie, as always, and DMR on 31012. But otherwise, I would say go to the nationally known frequencies for Ham Nation after show nets, which would be around 14268 and 7192. And maybe you'll find those fellows there hosting the net. Join us next week. Not next week. In 2 weeks, we've got the Mike and Mike show. Honestly,
the Mike and Mike show. Yep.
Yes, we have W3 MSB and great meteorologist, and I'm bringing him on because he just recently got promoted to having the weekend show on air on his local television station, news station. So I wanted to congratulate him, and he's going to talk a lot about what his local group does for Aries and Skywarn, and also just congratulating him. And then we got Mike Coulter, not to be confused with Mike Walters that was on tonight, W8CI. Right. And he's going to be talking all things Dayton and maybe talking about the winners, everything that's going to be new and fantastic this year in Dayton. And it's just because you can't get it off your mind, right? If you're going, you're so excited, you just can't get over it. So everything you hear about Dayton is going to be fantastic. So that in mind, we can go around the horn. Josh, back to you.
I'll go ahead and mention for everybody that's curious what we're doing as far as Dayton or anytime we go to a ham fest. The YouTubers generally have a meetup, if not multiple nights. I think right now we have one night for sure that we'll be doing at the Troll Pub, which is, I think, in Dayton proper, that will be there. It's either going to be Saturday or Friday night. So just watch all of our channels and you'll know more. And we may have a second event. We'll see how it all goes. But we'll update that as we go, So trying to get so many people in one space and then get the space to... Because we're always surprised how many people end up showing up when we have these, and it can be kind of intimidating when you say like, we want to have 30 to 50 ham radio operators jam into your place. Is that all right? They're like, what is ham radio? First of all, let me find out. So it's always a really interesting discussion, but we'll let you guys know as we move forward. But yeah, Joe, how you? Any last words or comments?
Nope, just look forward to seeing everybody at Dayton, and I'll try to listen in on the show coming up.
Perfect.
Very good. Okay, everybody, we're going to play you out. Thank you so much for watching. We really do appreciate it, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. So make sure you subscribe and click that bell so you know when we go live for Ham Nation. See you, everybody.
Thank you, Josh. Awesome job. And thank you to our wonderful guests tonight. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Leland, Jocelyn, Walter, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us on. And Josh, I sent you an email about the brewery that's down the road that can easily handle 50 people.
Nice.
Down the road from the VOA or down the road?
Yeah, down the road from VOA. I belong to a soccer watch party group, and we have our get-togethers there, and there's plenty of room.
Well, thank you for that email. We may do 2 meetups then. Maybe we'll go to the VOA for a tour and then have a fun little meetup.
I think that would be fantastic. Just keep me posted. I'm happy to help organize whatever you need. Obviously, I know a little bit of the area. Anything you're looking for, just let me know.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And thanks for
All right.
watching. See ya.